Hi, good morning, everyone. This is UTalks, myself Mukesh Sharma, and we have a very special guest today, Mr. IV Rao. And he doesn't need any introduction, but for the viewers who are actually seeing him today first time, I like to introduce him with a slide so that we don't miss anything about him. So here is the slide which I want to talk about. Mr. IV Rao is an IIT Kanpur postgraduate from 1976 and who led the R&D team as a senior managing executive officer in engineering till 2012 and continued as an executive advisor from 2012 to 2019 as good as last year. Now he's currently a visiting senior fellow in Center for Sustainable Mobility of TERI, a renowned think tank based in New Delhi. In his last 4 decades of career at Maruti Suzuki, Mr. Rao has made a significant contribution in different roles and positions in product development, manufacturing engineering functions. Under his leadership, Maruti R&D has grown from strength to strength. Those people who are from India, they know him very well already and has developed capability for new model developments, alternate fuel product development, and new technology development. His most significant contribution was the launch of new Alto and Alto K10 designed and developed by Maruti engineers in India. He served as a director for Maruti Center of Excellence. He also worked as a director on the board of Maruti's joint ventures in Bharat Seats, also Machino Polymers. With his vast experience of technology development and understanding of Indian context, Mr. Rao played an active role in the formulation of several automotive regulations in India over the last 4 decades. He held key positions as Executive Council member in SIAM, the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, for over a decade. He is an ardent supporter and believes in nurturing young generation. I am one of those who was interviewed by him 22 years ago, and I'm sitting in front of him. He takes active interest in student activities and is a very active member of SAE India. He is presently VP and chairman for Automotive Board of SAE India. He's also leading the SAE India Foundation activities as president. We can easily say he has an immense contribution in the development of Indian automobile industry. So thank you very much, sir, for sharing your time today. I have been doing the UTalks podcast. UTalks means technology, arts, life, knowledge, and sports. And some of the audience were suggesting that we were talking about how to perform under pressure. And they said that why we should not get an industry veteran. And the first name which comes to my mind is Mr. IV Rao. So here we are today with you, sir. And we thought we should have this interaction, which will be very beneficial for our audience. So first of all, how things are going on in Delhi, Gurgaon? We all are struggling through the COVID. I hope everything is fine at your end.
Yeah, we are fine, but the situation is not very encouraging. Still, the increase in number of cases. So we are still housebound, and there are a lot of restrictions in terms of movement and physical distancing, etc. So, but the activities have started, and I mean, like Maruti has started, and they are now gearing up to make catch up the production. But there are a lot of restrictions in terms of the distancing. As a result, the lot of facilities needs to be reconfigured to, cater for those requirements. And also, a lot of offices have declared that they would work from home till next April. Like all these software companies and all these consultancies, etc., have given flexibility to the work. I mean, the members to work from home.
Right,
So
right,
that's how
right.
things are happening now, right now.
Right. So if you can be a little bit behind, then your whole image will come. And I'm sure that some of our old Maruti people can see you are a little bit growing white beard as well.
It was always like that, I thought, Mukesh.
Yes, sir. So I think, just going into the interaction, I think you rightly said that a lot of reconfiguration is going to happen, which is also happening. And this COVID has thrown us into a different pressure situation as well. And I have been doing a series on how to perform under pressure in normal times, but now the times are different. So my first question to you, and you have a 4 decades plus of experience that every human being evolves through his or her career and life and manages to perform under pressure. Do you recall those moments when you went through such pressure moments, probably now or even in the past and all spanning your whole career, which could be a great example for us to learn how did you manage that?
Yeah, of course, yes, Mukesh. Like in life, we go through different moments. some pleasant, some unpleasant. Sometimes we are very tense, and many times we are cool. And these variations are results of external forces most of the
Right.
time, and sometimes self-made also. And the question is, when we are in a tense moment, why are we under pressure?
Right.
So generally, one feels pressure for various reasons. One of the important things is when the expectations are high and we are not very sure about the same, or some activities which are scheduled to be completed, which are timelines are impractical, or sometimes we get into pressure because of somebody else's mistakes. So these are various situations under which we perceive to be under pressure. In my life and career of 45 years, I did face a lot of tense moments, and some personal and many times official. Uh, to start with, I want to just mention one of the important tense moments I had was when I was attending the interview for Maruti Suzuki Limited. Uh, I was very tense, a lot of anxiety about how I would do in the interview, which made me nervous. Though automobile engineering was my favorite subject, and also I did prepare well, in spite of all that, I did not perform well in the interview. That's when I realized getting tense or creating pressure does not help the purpose. And subsequently in Maruti, I had many tense moments, creating a lot of pressure to perform in my 36 years in Maruti. But I can give a long list of such incidents. But what I can never forget is the time when Japan had severe earthquake and tsunami in northeast Japan on 11th of March 2011. You will not believe that we returned to India from Japan on 11th evening here. So we left Japan at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and this happened sometime during the evening. So we very narrowly escaped the tsunami there. Anyhow, that we were not aware till we landed here. So that was not the issue. And that time we had a lot of our engineers in Japan undergoing training, like you also did, and working on various projects with Suzuki Japan. And tsunami devastated many northeastern parts of Japan,
Right.
and the situation worsened due to Fukushima nuclear reactor burst. This actually rattled all the family members of our engineers who are in Japan.
Right.
They all requested that engineers should be called back to Maruti, and it was getting tougher day by day to talk to the worried parents in India on one side,
Right.
the frightened engineers on the other side, and also trying to understand the Japanese perspective on this.
Right.
However, due to the pressure from the parents and also the engineers, and considering the serious situation what was emerging, Maruti top management discuss and decide to request Suzuki Japan to send back the engineers. So we thought we have done what we are supposed to do, but the problem started. The next day there was a call from to our MD from Suzuki Japan, asking us to reach Japan immediately. And the same evening we took a flight and reached Japan in the morning and traveled to Hamamatsu and got into head office directly. And when we reached the Suzuki head office, the top management of Suzuki was already in a meeting, and they had a detailed discussion about the situation arising out of the tsunami disaster and the repercussions of the radioactivity leak, etc. And Suzuki management explained the adverse impact our calling back our engineers suddenly due to tsunami disaster would have.
Right.
They made us also realize our decision taken from Indian engineers' perspective was not the correct one, considering the overall situation. We were also explained. I mean, it's very subtly that some decisions need to be taken by brain and not by heart.
Absolutely.
I had real testing time for a couple of weeks during that time. However, if I look back, it turned out to be a great learning experience. The cultural differences in India and Japanese way of analyzing an issue, considering the overall situation, the organizations involved, the people, and also the two nations.
Sir, I would.
And the next 2 days, we were made to interact with all the engineers who were there in Japan and convince them that this is not the time for them to return back to India, and how all the concerns they had would be addressed for safety of everyone.
So you mentioned a very important point that generally our expectations, our unsurety leads to the pressure. But you brought a very important point that, which probably I did not consider asking, is that how two different cultures respond to the pressure.
Yeah, this way where the decision what we had taken in Maruti. I mean, all top management was involved, including our MD. Somehow didn't match with the thinking of Japan, Suzuki Japan. I mean, I think there the way we analyze the situation, the way Japanese analyze the situation were different. They were talking about the bigger issue, and we were talking mainly concerned about Maruti engineers stay in Japan
Mhm.
because of the pressure from the parents and also the continuous complaints or concerns being expressed by our engineers in Japan. So that's what I'm saying. So in decision making, when we are taking a decision, we always feel we are doing the right thing.
Right.
But unless you also know other side of the stakeholder, I mean, maybe I can use the word stakeholder. Here it's a different nation, so that brings in a lot of difference. The way we analyze, the way we decide, and the way Japanese do things.
But if you look at, you would have nurtured almost 1,000 plus leaders. I am also one of those who worked under your leadership for almost 10 years. How do people per se behave differently in pressures when they are subjected to? And what kind of traits, as a super leader, you have seen when you have subjected other people to pressure? And what are those, probably not specific instances, but any of those observations you might like to share, how people respond to pressures differently?
So you actually look at the human behavior. I think to get tense under pressure in office or at home is a human behavior. I mean, to
Right.
start with, it's not uniform across everybody, and some react in a particular fashion. Somebody else would be very different in his response to the same situation. It also depends to some extent how the people are involved in what they are doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, the many, I mean, bosses link getting tense or getting worried to the level of involvement with work, which I feel is not, really correct. It's not
Right.
necessary that you have to appear to be tense or worried to be committed. Okay. Uh, I mean, as I said, it's also partly nature. So some people always appear very cool, but do what is required to be done.
Right.
So to that extent, it is also a human behavior. Some people get tense very, very fast, which we feel there is no reason to get tense. But I mean, it's a characteristic. And also, I personally believe uh, nothing is achieved really by getting tense or making whole team tense.
Right. Right.
I think I strongly believe as a team lead, one has to maintain composure and give comfort to the team to deliver. And but many think that if the team is pressurized, the output would be better. I feel other way. and I very strongly believe that a free mind delivers the best.
Mhm.
And in my career, I always tried my best to isolate my team from the pressure fluctuations from the top.
Right.
I am not saying that the team should not be under any challenge to deliver. I can give you an example. In 1999, I think you have not joined Maruti that time.
Right.
April, Supreme Court suddenly advanced the implementation of Bharat Stage 1 emission norms,
Right.
which was supposed to be implemented in April 2000 to June 1999 for Delhi.
Right.
And we were actually working on introducing fuel injection system for our engines to meet the BS1 emission norms. Now we were in a very difficult situation. So our engine group, thankfully, we had a emission test lab with us. They did a lot of analysis of the data, what they had about the results of vehicles which were being made with carburetor, and quickly configured some system with carburetors to meet the BS1 emission norm. And they
Right.
literally worked 24 hours a day for a week or so to really do all possible tests and all possible combination to make sure that the configuration would always comply with the emission regulation requirements.
Right.
That's how we could quickly have Maruti 800 Zen and ST complying with the BS1 emission regulations for Delhi. Otherwise, Maruti would have had no wouldn't have sold these vehicles for that period till April 2000 when fuel injection system was introduced.
Right. Right.
So
So,
what I'm trying to say is it's important to make the team members realize themselves the gravity of the situation, and
right.
they will automatically align themselves to meet the targets. So
Right.
I think that is the best way of getting best out of anybody.
Right. Absolutely. I think you rightly said that the sense of responsibility and ownership, when that goes up in the pressure moments, then you are better equipped to take on the pressure. But you would have seen some of the colleagues who would have probably succumbed to the pressure. I would not be probably appropriately handling it. How did you probably comfort them, or how did you, if you have any kind of that experience handling it?
Uh, I mean, as I said, some people get tense very fast, and as a result, actually, I mean, they uh, jumble up or become erratic. I
Mhm.
mean, I did have some bosses who made me tense when they were under slightly tight spots or difficult situations.
Right.
So, I mean, what I am trying to say is getting tense in itself does not solve the problem. We have to
Right.
actually identify what needs to be done, and what is more important is to how to do that.
Right. So, sir, my next question is that now, because of this work from home, COVID, it is probably putting a different kind of a stress and pressure onto the people, because people are not meeting each other that much. Our
Yeah,
indoor to outdoor ratio is
yeah,
also skewed now. So, different kind
yeah.
of challenges might emerge. So, what do you feel that how leaders should give that comfort virtually without a physical contact and not ability to meet so much?
Yeah, actually, the lockdown during COVID, as actually initial days, we were, I mean, at least I was very upset that I will not be able to go out at all and I have to work from home all the times. I mean, sit at, I somehow, I mean, don't like to sit at a place continuously. Uh, but within a week or so, we got used to the new routine,
Mhm.
and I mean, there thankfully there were a lot of webinars which were being organized by different agencies, technical, non-technical, etc. And I started joining most of these webinars.
Mm.
Some days I did join 2 to 3 webinars a day. So
Okay.
that had given me a lot of I mean, I was occupied otherwise learning new things. But because we are deprived of physical movement, I think one thing what is important is to make uh, uh, our body flexible. So yoga is one thing which uh, would help in keeping our body flexible. So we very consciously decided to not miss yoga in the morning every day. I
Right.
think that helps a lot.
Hmm.
And then the lockdown during COVID has actually made us think a lot of new things which we never thought would be possible. I
Right.
mean, like almost all organizations which had working from home during the lockdown have realized that a lot of activities can be done sitting at home.
Right.
So many people need not come to so-called the office to do what they are doing. Of course, there are some activities which cannot be done remotely digitally. So
Right.
there the physical presence would be required, like manufacturing or actual physical testing, etc. But other activities like actual CAD design or simulation, blah blah blah, all those can be done any place as long as you have basic computer and the software systems what are required.
Right. Right.
And also because of no economic activity and very less movement of people, Delhi could see blue skies after a very long time. I
There
think
are
this
some
was
positives.
a great relief everybody felt. And also we could hear all the birds coming back to the housing colony parks. I mean,
Right.
morning the birds' chirpy noise was a pleasure to wake up.
Right.
And the point is now the government is trying to relax the restrictions and we are trying to get back to normal activities.
Right.
But I personally feel this is the time when we should analyze and decide how differently we can do things more efficiently. And the basic target should be to optimize or minimize the so-called movement of people and material,
Right.
which
Right.
would help a lot in actually improving the air we breathe. And also, we should encourage or create facilities for non-motorized movement of people. I think that's
Right.
also very
Right.
important. It has been ignored in India for a long time.
Absolutely.
So, so for, I mean, whoever, I mean, I am sure if I am getting used to working from home without so-called physical movement, I am sure youngsters would have switched over to this much easier, much easily because they like logging on to computer and working on computers much more than my generation.
Absolutely. So, sir, my last question is that, of course, there are positives and negatives of working under the pressure. And as an individual, if someone is 20 in his 20s or in 40s or 50s or 60s, what is your advice across this segment to live a peaceful and a successful life with top three advices from, nichod of your, you will say in Hindi,
Oh my God.
nichod of your experience, the top three things which you feel from your illustrious career, which we can learn, the audience can learn.
I wouldn't like to call it advice or anything, but I will share what I feel would help people to do better. First and foremost thing is health. I
Right,
mean, the good health is a basic requirement, and in normal circumstances, we take health for granted and tend to ignore health.
right,
And we realize the importance of health with a very any small problem we face. Even a
right.
small headache would upset us so much.
Hmm.
So it is important to do continuous, pay continuous attention to our body.
Right.
Maybe doing yoga and physical exercise will go a long way to keep the body toned. And I think this will make even the brain very alert, and a fit body is good for good brain.
Understood. Right.
And the one suggestion or request I have for youngsters is to develop urge to learn more and try new things and not to worried about failure.
Absolutely.
Analyzing failure is, I think, sure way of actually learning,
Right.
and and also I mean, in my tenure in Maruti and what I hear from other organizations, also somehow the youngsters are very not not very free to ask or probe deep into any issue. They are
Right.
scared of raising issues. I
Right.
think it's better to speak out than to bottle up the thoughts. I
Hmm.
think if you are able to talk out and then maybe you get some response from somebody which would address what you feel as a problem. I
Right.
think this is very important. Unless you question, you don't get the reply, and unless you get reply, your doubt will not be clarified. So this is a cycle, and the best way of learning is to ask question. I don't think there's any other way of doing things.
Absolutely.
Uh, the other thing is once we realize that getting tense or uh, or getting under pressure does not really solve the address the problem.
Right. Right.
Once we realize this, we will not get pressurized easily,
Hmm.
and we should try to be normal even in abnormal situations. I think that is the
Hmm.
I mean, that's how we should tune ourselves.
Right. Right.
Ultimately, what is important is to find a solution and
Right.
work for it.
Right.
Uh, I mean, sum it up, there is no point worrying about the spoiled milk, which is the
Right.
past,
Mm.
or get anxious about the unknown tomorrow and
Right.
spoil what we have today.
Absolutely.
I think so. I mean, I'm not saying that we should not worry about what we are doing, what situation we are in, but worrying alone will not help, and worrying to an extent which impacts our own behavior or our thought process is not good for anything. Not good for the self, nor in addressing the problem.
Right. Right. I think, Rao Saab, thank you very much. I think maybe just to summarize, I think health comes as the most important thing because that allows you to evade and wade through all the circumstances and accepting failures. And then the urge to learn, which actually removes a lot of blind spots. And
Yes.
coming to the pressure alone is not the solution, are the key
Yeah.
takeaways.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the audience who is going to see today, and some of them from Maruti as well, they will go back to those old times when all those things happened. You shared some great stories. Of course, there's some tough ones of the earthquake, some interesting one of the BS4 regulations, and many other things. And then I think your advice, and you have seen your 4 decades of illustrious career, where you have gone and worked with the who's and who of the Indian automobile industry. I'm pretty sure that people will love this more. And as I'm working more into this subject, probably once I have more insights, probably will again invite you for another talk on
Oh,
some on deeper
sure,
subject into
certainly.
this.
My pleasure.
Right.
Anytime for anything for, I mean, youngsters.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. And I would probably stop the interview here. And thank you so much again for coming
Thank
on
you
this
very much.
show. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.